So we've got Jamie joining us from Billings, Montana. Woohoo! We've got Gretchen joining us from the Seattle area. And we've got Reagan. She's really good at the mannequin challenge, and she's really good at disappearing too. she's our resident magician.
Yeah, she is.
Anyway, Reagan is joining us from the Fathead Valley, actually, on vacation. So she's dealing with some Wi-Fi stuff, but hopefully she'll get back on here and join us. Let me just press something else real quick. Okay, so I am so excited to be able to join you guys. And actually, first, before we jump into that, comment below where you guys are joining us from, because we know that you're all over the United States. We might have some people outside of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So drop us a little comment below where you're joining us from. I know it's summer. Maybe you're on vacation. Maybe like some of us, you're hiding in your car right now or your closet or something like that. Go ahead and give it away in the comments. Yeah, kind of like Gretchen hiding in her car.
Legit, not even lying.
Before we totally jump into this, we've had so many questions on, you guys, what is She's Velvet Steel? I'm kind of confused. What are you doing? What is this about? And what's really exciting is God just placed a vision in our hearts a couple decades ago, honestly, and it just kind of started developing. And Jamie gave me a call. You can read all about it in our story in the About section on Facebook. But really, one of our most important things right now is building our community, because we want to find out, is there anybody else out there that thinks like us? Hello, are you out there? And we know there are. We know there are a lot of women that have been through similar things that we have been through. We know that there are a lot of women that maybe are where we were at 10 years ago. And we just feel like, man, everything we've gone through, everything we've learned, we want to be able to pass some of that on to you. And but right now our community is so important. And one of the examples is that someone said, I really love the things that you guys stand for, like grit and grace and soft-hearted and strong and all that stuff. Like, I want that on a t-shirt. And we're thinking, okay, never thought about that in the cave when we were planning everything. So we love that organic beginnings. We love the collaboration, and you guys are way more inventive and creative than we are. So we want that. We want those suggestions. We don't have like a total planned out big scheme for the next 6 years, because we really want to leave room just for the Holy Spirit to work through us and to really guide us. So on that note, share this video so that we can give other people an opportunity. Yeah, see right there. Give other people an opportunity to be a part of that and to give their input. And look, we're not going to be for everybody. Let's just get it out there right now. And we don't want to be for everybody. This is a specific place for a specific time for specific people. And if you don't fit it, it's totally cool. If you want to just kind of stalk us, we're cool with that. I think.
Why do I feel like I want to be like, preach, girl? Come on now, preach.
So anyway, we're
like,
really
am I
excited.
in church?
Anyway, so share the video right now so that you aren't selfish with your SBS community, right? So anyway, in the month of June, we covered the comparison trap, which, holy smokes, did we start out with a big thing. And we haven't even scratched the surface of the comparison trap. But if you were blessed by it, will you drop a heart in the comments below? If you grabbed that free gift and you were blessed by it, just drop a heart in the comments below. That would be awesome. And if you didn't grab it, which is totally cool, because we don't want you spending 48 hours a day on Facebook, then I think Jamie's going to drop it for us in the comments. She's going to drop it like it's hot in the comments.
Drop it like it's hot, girl.
So Jamie's going to drop the link in the comments. So grab that so that you can take advantage of it. All right. So we're going to jump into this. The disease to please. Why is the disease to please such an epidemic right now, especially with moms, wives, really men too, but we're here to talk to the women. And before we really jump into that, the disease to please, one of the things that we wanted to address, and actually, Jamie, I'll let you go first. Why is it so dangerous to say yes to everything in our schedule?
think that gets kind of tricky because when we talk about our schedules and saying yes and no to things, saying yes can be masked by it being a good thing. So let me explain. Part of our vision is that we would live loved. And every girl that lives love is driven and motivated out of love. We have to check our motive when we say yes to something, because are we driven out of love or to be loved? And there's a huge difference, right? Because we could do the good thing, like I'm going to take care of my neighbor's dog while they're gone for 2 weeks, because that's the nice thing to do. That's the neighborly thing to do.
Right.
And why would I say no? I mean, they're just right next door. I mean, it would be kind of selfish of me, right? If I didn't say yes, or even more so, how about in the church? I need to serve. I need to be at every meeting. I need to volunteer where nobody's volunteering. Oh, nobody's raising their hand. It's going to be me. Right. And that seems like a good thing. Is it motivated out of love, or is it motivated out of to be loved? Because really, disease to please is born out of a place of fearing rejection and fearing failure. And we never want to be driven by
That's
fear.
good.
And I love what, Jen, and you're probably going to expand on this. When we say yes to something, we're going to say no to something else. So there's consequence there. What are we driving ourselves by? How are we choosing to live our life? Driven by fear or love? And then what are we going to say no to by saying yes to these other things?
That's so good. And that it's so easy, especially certain personality types, which I think, where's Reagan? Because the three of us are really type A. We are producers, we're get her done. And so we tend to say, we can keep stacking on our schedule. Nothing's going to break. I got this. Really to the detriment of our family, because it is true. Every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And saying no to something else might be the exact thing that you don't want to say no to: your marriage, your kids. And that kind of leads me to that why, piggybacking on what Jamie talked about, is when I'm saying yes to something and that means saying no to something else. Andy and I were having this discussion about our budget. If anybody loves talking about finances with their spouse, drop a money sign in the comments below and a big old happy face. But we were having this discussion about our finances and budget, and he's, SBS, you guys, we keep it real. So, and I want you just to preface this. Everything we say that we share with you guys, whether it's discussions we've had with our spouses or whatever, we've had their permission. So anyway, so anyway, we were talking about our budget, and he was saying, well, I just need to say no more. I need to say no more. Like, let's say no to ordering. Actually, Pizza Hut for our family is, I kid you not, probably like almost $60. I know that sounds crazy, but there's 7 of us and, lots of teenagers. So I just need to say no more. We need to say no to Pizza Hut. We need to say no to eating out. That's how our that's how we're going to help our budget. When really in the end, that's not the only. It's no, and this is how much we're spending on groceries this month. So no to the $60 pizza, and yes to the barbecue with friends. We're going to spend that money on buying hamburgers. It's kind of a silly analogy, but it can't just be no to your schedule, not knowing why. So no, why am I saying no? And really what we want as She's Velvet Steel is to be able to help you guys. Where are we headed with our marriages? What do you want it to look like in 5 years? What do you want where do you want your children? What's the target for that quiver of arrows you have? What's the target? Where are we heading with our parenting? Where are we heading with our finances? Is just saying no to everything going to take you where you want to go? And so what we want to do with the why, with the no, saying no to things and being aware of the disease to please is why? Why should we say no? Well, it's because we want to have a plan, and we want that plan to be the filter for everything that comes into your schedule. So if someone says, hey, will you go volunteer at church? Can you help with Saturday night? And you already have a family date planned Saturday night. That's an easy no, because you've already been proactive with the things that are priorities in your life. So that's what we want. We want to equip you guys with that. So heading right into that, every family's different. We all have different levels of cray in our schedule that we can handle, right? And so if your family schedule is a little cray, drop a 1 in the comments. if your family schedule is a little cray-cray for you right now. And one of the first things that I want to ask these girls is, do you have a specific area in your family schedule that you know you should say no to, but you keep saying yes to? But there's something that keeps nagging you, like, this is getting crazy. I don't know if I can do that. Is there a specific area, whether it's sports, church, neighbor stuff, in-law stuff, anything that you're saying yes to that you just, asking you guys to be real, that you just keep saying yes to?
Well, I mean, I'll be 100% real. You know, my husband and I, being that we're in full-time ministry, I think it's incredibly easy to say yes, especially when you're engrossed in it. And, you know, we're in the business of people. That's what we do. And it's really easy because I have that genuine heart to want to love on people where they're at and meet them where they're at. But when you do that for everybody, you end up forgetting about the very people that are right next to you. And so my husband and I both have really had to work at and we're still working at it. I would be lying to you if I said that we had this down pat right now, because we don't. Because we both have a heart for people and we both have a heart for ministry and really reaching people more so than anything, the unchurched, because that's just what we have a heart for. But if you're doing that every day and day in and day out, and you're forgetting about your kids, or, hey, babe, let's have a date night. In fact, we just had this conversation a week ago. I was like, babe, I'm so starving for a date. Like, and then I go, wait a minute, how do we get to this point? Because we've talked about this.
What man's going to say no?
Right?
I don't think so.
Right. And I was like, here we go. And so it's just, but also, you know, us being willing to, there have been times where, you know, even this past week too, being fatigued and tired, and, you know, sometimes you just got to cry it out. I think there's a beautiful release in that. And for whatever reasons, I don't know. And we live in a world that is driven by, well, we got to be independent and we got to push through and don't let anybody know what's really going on, because heaven forbid you might get real. And it's so much more freeing to be real, especially with your spouse. I mean, there's nothing that I love more than like when my husband and I can sit down and have a good cry. Well, me, not him. Me, it's usually me, like having a full-on breakdown. But then we will literally come together, we will hug, we'll pray over it, and then there's just this beautiful release and a connection. And that's what is so wonderful. And there's so many people that I talk to that, I mean, I'll tell them, I'm like, hey, this is what happens in our marriage.
Right.
And I'm real with it. And I'm like, you got to get real with it in order to be able to move past it and make progress.
You're saying the one thing in your schedule would be ministry that sometimes is hard to say no to, and it ends up saying no to your marriage if you're not careful.
If I'm not careful.
Yeah. Yes. Jamie, what about you?
You know, Hugh and I were talking about this beforehand. When in relation to the disease to please and me saying no to things, I don't think I struggle any longer with the typical saying no because of the disease to please. But I think this is something that I have struggled with because the more kids I have, the harder.
You know how that happens, right?
Yeah, and we're going to end that because it's just getting a little too difficult for me to stay sane.
You're clearly saying yes to something in there.
Right.
She's like, hey, baby, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, new topic.
Okay, sorry.
So I think the saying no to your kids, pleasing them, doing for them, letting them have, letting them do, letting them, you know, be wherever they want to be, do whatever they want to do, really for the sake of easiness. I mean, so here's why it's easier. It makes the schedule fuller, but it makes conflict easier. Like, I don't like to deal with whining, and I don't like to deal with meltdowns, and I don't like to deal with why. and asking over and over and over, because so here's the selfish side. I don't like to be interrupted with the same stupid thing, right? So I'm like, yes, already, you know? So I'm like, I said no already. Don't say it again. So sometimes the disease to please creeps in when I'm like, okay, I just know that this is going to please them in the moment. And it's going to maybe commit me or overcommit me or our schedule or our money or whatever. But by pleasing them, then it provides a little easier, day for me.
Right.
So it's a little bit different aspect in terms of disease to please, but it creeps in. Sometimes we do it with adults too. We've got some adults that are like asking and asking and asking. And sometimes we're like, okay, we just do it just for the sake of them stopping the ask, that's not a good place either. So I think that especially this summer with all 4 of them home, there's the temptation for me to be like, sure, you can be on your technology another hour because it gives me another hour or whatever,
Yep.
just pleasing and appeasing for the sake of ease.
What about, so as you talk about that, do you guys ever feel, and this is for everybody watching us too, and we don't want to have monologues, we want to have a dialogue, and that's something that we repeat over and over. We really want you guys to tell us your thoughts as we're talking about these different things. But Jamie, as you're talking about that, what just popped into my head is that since I started working outside the home, I've always been at home since my kids were babies. Since they came out, I've been at home. Now, have I been at home 100% mentally? No, I probably have checked out, but I have noticed what has crept in the last couple months is guilt. How does the disease to please, how does our guilt not being here, I'm actually outside of the home all day, 6 hours or whatever. And maybe this is somebody that has recently gone through a divorce, or maybe they're a single parent. And that guilt factor when it comes to parenting, how does that affect our disease to please? Do you think we say yes more to our kids in areas that maybe we feel like is doing the right thing for them, but it ends up being very unhealthy for them? And that goes back to your motives, right, Jamie?
Right. Totally. I think that's a fear of failing, right? Failing as a mom, of going, gosh, being driven by guilt is feeling like a failure. You're feeling like you're not making it and not cutting it in some way. And so, I think there's a lot of moms that relate to that, especially the ones that work outside the home, for sure.
Right. That's a whole nother webinar, huh?
It is. Hey, so here's a comment from somebody, Lindy, who's always on our coffee talks. Hey, girl.
Yay.
Hey, Lindy.
Hi, Lindy.
So Lindy says, I tend to find myself not being able to say no to my kids' school. So the actual school, because she's worked there, but she also volunteers for everything. She feels like the school does so much for her kids that she owes them, or that she's obligated.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah. So she was burned out, and she felt like that her kids and her husband got the effect of her being burned out because she was saying yes to the school. So owing somebody, being obligated, that's interesting topic. The different angle of the disease to please.
Right.
Owing. Interesting, right?
Reagan, I bet you've got some PTA opinions on that.
What's insane is I'm someone that actually pays to send my kid to school. I don't know why, I just enjoy it. All right. It's just a small circle out there. And I'm not the crafty mom. Pinterest, I forget my password because it takes me so long to log in. But for whatever reason, I'm kind of right there with Lindy. I'm constantly wanting to help out. I was room mom this year and had a breakdown in a PTA meeting of like, when you're room mom for 3 or 4 rooms. And I didn't understand how they wanted this sign to be made. I don't know where to make it look countryish. So I literally had a breakdown, and my friend asked me, or a couple ladies asked me if I was on my period when I left there. And I was like, no, man, I'm not on my period. This is just me trying to do my all for everybody. Because it's like, I'm trying to please the school, because I do believe, like, honestly, part of me is, I know teachers probably like my kids better because they like me. And if I'm a jerk, they're going to be my kids. And high school is not like that at all, but it's in the back of my mind, you know, like you're nice to somebody in customer service. Like you're trying to check in on, you're just trying to be nice because you're like, the nicer I am to them, then the more they might help me or do something for me. So yeah, Linda, I don't know. It's something I'm constantly trying to break free because here's, I think, where it comes down to with this disease to please, like we kind of touched on, and just even in a practical way, it's like, one, at the end, I feel like no matter how hard I try with my kids, and I'm on vacation right now, so, you know, it's getting real. Like, not everybody wants to go swimming. Not everybody wants to eat at Dairy Queen. Wants a burger. Everybody wants hot, you know, and I'm like, my husband's not with me. So I'm just like, I'm trying to keep all 4 little opinions happy on top of the additional family members that are here. And I mean, look, I can't even log in. I'm like, what's the freaking internet? Like, you know what? Like at the end of the day, do you think any of these people I was trying to please are upset? No, it's me. We're all sitting, you know, we're not sitting in a dark corner because there is no dark corner when you're a mom. Let's be honest. We're sitting there, like going to bed, feeling unhappy, exhausted, and like a failure. And I'm like, how am I feeling like a failure? I'm the only one out there attempting to try to please everybody, be it through school activities as a room mom, be it through, you know, some church event that you're doing. It's like, if I'm in a church with 300 people, how am I the only one always here? So I don't know. I had to wrap up all my thoughts quick because I've been missing, you know? So.
Well, you know, that consequence is a good one to point out, honestly, because we've talked about the consequences of other priorities of our marriage and our family life and our budget. But one of the consequences that was listed on Friday as one of the top 5 consequences is yourself, which there are some people, some personalities that are like, oh, self, I don't need to care for myself. I mean, my life's about other people. There's some false humility that can be all wrapped and packaged up in that baby. But what you're saying though, is what happens is you are disengaged. You're not able to be present any longer because you're so focused on managing everybody else's expectations that it's weighing on you, and then it's robbing you of being able to enjoy any of it or anyone. Right. And if that goes on for too long, I don't know about you, but I have a fuse for that for like this long. And if I start to feel like I'm managing everyone's expectations, it goes really fast. And then I'm like, all right, I'm done. You know, none of you are easy to please.
But don't you think, I mean, if we're being totally honest, and I think why this is like a disease and such, like something that just affects every area, is when I'm done, the first person I'm going to be done with, even if he had nothing to do with any of it, is my husband. The second people I'm going to be done with are my children, you know, and I don't know why this is that way, but it's like my friends, like, honestly.
She's a mannequin
there
again.
she goes with that darn mannequin challenge. I'm telling you, she's good at it. Look at that.
I think, you know, I was going to say something too about the owing to Lindy. And here's what I've struggled with the owing, because I understand that in a very, very big way, in that I was not, and I still have to train myself this way mentally, that when somebody blesses me, whether it's like, hey, I'll take your kids for an hour, or I will, you know, hey, I'll bring you over a meal, or, you know, my neighbors, I love them. They came over and they built a screen door for us while we were on vacation on my house. And the old me would have gone, oh my gosh, like I need to go do X, Y, Z. I need to make sure that I check off the boxes because I owe them. And I wouldn't receive the blessing. Like, and when we get into that state of mind of feeling like we need to be like paying people back that are truly blessing us, and maybe that it's not even them blessing us, they're just doing it out of the goodness of their own heart, but we don't allow it to bless us. We don't, I mean, it's very clear in scripture too, that says, you know, those who refreshed will in turn be refreshed themselves. But we don't live like that because culture doesn't teach us that.
Right. That's good. That's good. Well, and with our schedule, when we constantly say yes to all these things that we think can be good things, they're not wrapped in darkness and obvious pain and suffering. No. It doesn't say, beep, 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 warning, before you say yes to this, just know in 3 weeks, you and your husband will be fighting. Do you want to say yes to this? Are you sure? Like, unfortunately, all of the 30,000 choices we have to make every day don't have warning signs on them and blinking signals. You guys, there's so much we can unwrap with this. And really today was just getting the conversation started with our schedule. And next week, what we'd like to do is really go into some of the solutions. And first of all, I have a question though. Who do you think says yes to your family schedule more in ways that they shouldn't? The husband or the wife? You or your spouse? Drop a little girl emoji if it's you, or drop a guy emoji if it's your husband. Who do you think is responsible for that family schedule? And really the saying yes to too many things. I think it's a probably pretty obvious answer, but I'm curious. Maybe there are some relationships that it's the guy. What do you think, Jamie?
I think it would be Eric more than me, but most people view me as the planner and the organizer, so I'm the filter.
Nice.
And he's learned in our marriage, it's been 17 years, so he's learned to kind of use me as a filter, because otherwise, when we first got married, that actually was a center, you and I talked about this, that was the center of a lot of our fights, him putting everyone else first. And that's what drew me to him. I love that he put other people first and he has a servant's heart, but it was putting us last in some things. That was really frustrating for me. So we've learned that he filters it, and then we try and, we kind of have created a habit of what we do when we're trying to identify yes or no answers, but it's switched in our house.
Yeah, it definitely is. Gretchen, what about you?
For sure. It's me. Definitely. Yeah. But I mean, we now once a week, my husband and I, we sit down and we actually, in fact, I just said that this morning. I was like, hey babe, when I get home later today, we need to go over our schedule for the week and like talk about it and make sure that we're both on the same page and moving forward. Because before it was like, we would be two people living from two separate calendars. And then it'd be like, what? Well, you said yes to this, but you didn't even check with me. And it's just all these unset expectations. And when you have unset expectations, you immediately are putting limitations on what you can and can't do.
Right. Oh, that's so good.
Anybody else that's commented, Jen, it's been all girls.
Yeah. And I think that's probably pretty typical. So that leads us to, are there specific areas that you want solutions for? And we're going to dive into that next week. So make sure you share this video. Make sure that you share, let your friends in on, because like I said at the beginning, this community, we don't want to cast the largest net in social media to get as many people as we want. We want the right people at the right time for the right reasons. And we know if you're watching this right now, and if even just a sliver of it has resonated with you, share it, because we know that you've got other girlfriends that need to hear this, and we're all stronger together. And so we want to know, what are some areas that you would like solutions for? I feel like we can still probably unpack more of the disease to please, what it is, and the detrimental effects of it, even before we go into some of the solutions, because we just have a little bit of time with you guys, and we know your time is precious. So we'll probably continue to unpack that a little bit more next week and start touching on some of the solutions. But Gretchen, if there's one thing you'd leave with the viewers on the disease to please for them to look out for this week to bring awareness to their schedule, what would it be?
I would say to both the live viewers and the replay viewers, just be cognizant of what is good, because it's very easy to see what's good and it be masked for what you think is, it's easy to see something that's good, which in turn could really be bad. And you got to be able to say no to the good in order to say yes to the great.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Jamie?
Yeah, I was actually just thinking about that. There's that book, Good to Great. But yeah, I think the idea of, we said it in the beginning, if we say yes to something and it is going to take from us our energy, our emotion, our thoughts, our time, our money, then it's going to pull from something else. So with every yes or no, are we okay with it pulling from everything else? Or from something else? And it'll probably pull from your weakest link. So if you're feeling like you don't have enough husband time, it's going to pull from that. If you feel like your budget's like barely making it, it's going to pull from that. If you feel like you're going to bed crazy woman and you're crying yourself to sleep and waking up frazzled, it's going to compound that, you know?
Right. Right.
What's
So the
the-
disease to please, saying yes to so many things and not setting those boundaries really could leave us laying in bed at night thinking that we were doing all the right things for our kids, for our husband, for our church, for our school, for our neighborhood, for our in-laws, for our parents, for our siblings. And we lay in bed thinking we screwed it all up and we didn't get any of it done correctly or efficiently.
Yeah.
That's not what we want. So we want to help you guys rise above that, because that's not the life that God has planned for you at all.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
So, okay, guys, we're not going to get teary-eyed on here. We're going to keep it
Nope.
fun and real. Peace out on your Monday. We love you guys. And don't forget to share the video. And we'll see you next Monday for a continual conversation on the disease to please.